The IRDC cable has now met to meet and determine forever the meaning of roguelikes until the next.
Well, are the people roguelike developers, those are the people who decide your future.
All right. Where can those come from?
Maybe it's a bird.
Sounds good. So far.
Fusion collider actually worked after all.
It would be nice to put it outside of the range.
Yeah, but
What are you trying to do?
or just turn it off, or I don't know. Remember.
Just saw everything.
That's how the funny YouTube, real funny YouTube. Yeah, we sit notes and we have it in camera. Actually.
Where the camera goes.
That's always when people ask, why did they have this on camera?
That was bad idea.
Okay, now I'm going to
No, it's the plastic.
Huh? It could catch fire.
We'll just do it. We are on camera right now.
Front of the camera. Just to hide it. Here, I'm hitting it.
Okay.
That's good. So yesterday, we came to the conclusion that roguelikes did not mean like rogue. Roguelikes meant a genre, and we would look at a canon of games that fit this, and they become the exemplars from which we determine whether or not these points contribute. We had gone through a lot of them yesterday, but not everyone was here. So shall we go through them again and summarize what we said last night?
You
See what
wish
people
to
say.
take notes. Anyway. So you didn't. Well, we're to the camera, I guess.
It's on the camera,
It's
yes,
on
yeah.
the camera, but we
Wait,
can
let me
put
quickly,
it
like,
down
5
on
minutes.
paper.
Yeah.
That's just signatures for master.
Yeah.
So this kind of definition is what called not stable over time. It could happen that some roguelike disappears and another roguelike emerges, and this in itself would then change the
I don't
meaning
think
of
so.
roguelike.
I don't think so. I think it sort of should be. I think we're engaged in genre formation here. We're trying to create a genre. So
Yeah.
we're trying to consciously choose a canon.
Yeah.
And when you've chosen that, then things fit or don't fit. But the things that were originally in there remain in there.
Ah,
No, I think it's all relatively stable because it's not a genre that was created 2 years ago or something.
Yeah.
okay. But for example, I think Moria and Lan have been very influential back at some time. We would probably right now not refer to them.
Well, I don't think we have to because their influences are already in later roguelikes.
Okay.
But we can refer to them. I think they remain in the canon.
Okay.
Okay, so the first point was random environment generation. Game world and its content are mostly procedurally generated with each game. I think we all agree that it's one of the key aspects of every roguelike. And we also said that rogue fits this definition because the dungeon is randomly generated.
There was one note to this. It has to be randomly generated in a way that allows replayability. Not just anything randomly. For example, you could randomly change wallpapers on the walls, but that doesn't change anything gameplay-wise. So it's random generation, but in a way that increases replayability.
I would like to point out that if you have these lots of quests and a predetermined storyline, this, in my point of view, somehow detracts from the randomness because it's yeah. So I mean, I think Adam has this. So Adam is of course a roguelike, but this is in some cases less random driven than other roguelikes. So this is
Maybe the random value of it should be slightly lower.
yes.
You still have a NetHack Sokoban, for example, you have a random generation of the items of the monsters,
Yeah.
which
Yes, I know, but it's a little bit different with the whole thing. Especially, I think one could randomize Superman, and I think in a plot or story-driven game, one could and should try to randomize the storyline. So it would help a lot. It would make it much more roguelike in spirit. It would be better.
Also for Adam, I think entirely fixed or the fixed levels are a little bit of a weakness. They are interesting the first time you go there.
Yes. That's why we want randomness.
Especially if you place the hard monsters into the same spots, it
It's predictable.
yeah. You let it rush stress to the loop, and when he sees the level for the second or third time and grabs it, and the level gets less interesting.
Actually, I think at this point, this is a random generation is the key part of being roguelike. I think this is somehow a distinction between how do I say it? There's a reason why this free or open source stuff can go with random and why source stuff is so often predetermined.
In certain another game.
Yes. And also replayability has different values to these different kinds of games. I think this is important. This is why we are talking about random games. If you would try to sell games, you would approach a different manner, I think.
Let's go to the next point because we've already done this first few yesterday. Coming further. Remember that? You must process, sometimes it's called life. Story games is storage, not recorded to allow continuous splitting. So, what was that? I think I was thinking today was also that this was a defining feature of programs. And also that this works in roguelikes and a lot better than in other games because of the playability, because of the first part. Because if you had to do the first level of Doom 2 200 times, although many of us might have did it anyway, it would have been much more boring than doing the first level of that. Turn-based interaction. Again, we said in relation to Jeff's talk yesterday that turn-based means turn-based in the sense that Rogue is turn-based, not turn-based in the sense that you have 30 frames per second per second or 50 frames per second. And it's also a turn, but this turn only lasts one.
Civilization is turn-based.
Yes,
Civilization is turn-based.
Yes.
So it's more a movement point-based game. It's more a movement point-based game because you aren't making a single action each turn, but queuing a whole bunch of actions. With turn-based, you tend to be working each step. Is another turn, then you release control and get back to the result.
The distinction between turn and move is better than between discrete and continuous, because both roguelikes and civilization are discrete on the time scale.
The one for last, and actually, I think it's the most vague point, or the least, at least for me, was the least understood point in the high value factors was the single command set. Jeff gave the example of what is the single command set. There are shops in a lot of games, for example, Angman, where you don't really interact with the game the same way that you normally are in the dungeon, you fight monsters and so on, but you have a menu where you click what you want to buy and what you want to sell, and you can't really do whatever you want. You can't go kill the shopkeeper or try to steal, maybe you can try to steal, but it's not in the same world as the rest of the game.
I think only Derek does it, right?
Adon does it. Adon also has steal.
I think some versions of Rogue, of X-Rogue or something like that tries to attack.
Yeah. It's from that family, I think. But the idea I think we got out of the single command set was it's your focus is always at the same sort of zoom level. And so I said sort of Adon fails this when it has the overworld. Because when you're in the overworld, suddenly I can't cast crossbow to freeze that river. I have to swim through it. It's like, but if it was in a dungeon map, I could cast crossbow and freeze the river. And similarly, something like Ultima 3, where when you enter battle, you suddenly switch to a battle screen, where you move your characters around, but it's a different area, and there's spells that work in battles that don't work in the walking around the dungeon world.
I think what you mean is consistency in game scale. It's actually only one scale of the game.
Exactly. You know, it's
No
working.
modes.
Yeah,
Yeah, no modes, yeah.
Sort of Emacs versus VI, right? It's not modal.
Yeah. But this might be less misleading than single command set, I think. I think single command set does not capture it very well.
That's how I think we reinterpreted single command set.
Okay.
So,
And of course,
single scale.
In non-modal things.
and of course, the most important reason why you should have a single command set is the next one, which is freedom. You have a lot more freedom when you can run all of the game functionality is always available to you, regardless of where in the game you are. Yeah.
You can come up with things that developer didn't think about.
But of course, this is hard to make precise.
Yeah, and it's something that Rogue doesn't fulfill very well in terms of freedom, because freedom insofar as stealing from shops, well, you know, it doesn't have that sort of stuff.
But since you have a big set of actions available at any time, you can say this is freedom. You can throw your collisions already in Rogue.
And it definitely has the idea you can maneuver on the battlefield to run away from the creature. It's not like some games where runaway is an action to defeat the
I
battle.
think the idea is there are so many technical individual options that it creates a complexity that is well, just there.
Psychologists define freedom as acceptance of your limitations, identifying with your limitations. So they are not from the outside.
Yeah.
Okay. Another point that was brought yesterday about doing more using freedom is that the progressions linear. You can't go back to levels that you've already left.
Which Rogue does not do it.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
Okay.
And it also, I think another point we brought up was freedom usually requires you to break the resource constraints to have time to diddle about and try growing herbs or something like that. You know?
I don't know if that is meant by freedom.
Yeah.
I don't think it should. I think it should not be meant by freedom.
And but that brought us up a point in the missing from this list that we thought might be is the idea of resource constraint.
Of management or something.
Yeah, of you running out of resources, because that was one of the identifying things we came up with Rogue, was that it was extremely resource constrained, and then we realized the other ones in the canyon often had some essence of resource constraint was put in. Sometimes it would fail eventually, but they'd at least attempt to put in corruption or hunger or.
I mean, isn't even the notion of having a life and HP is also a resource.
But HP regenerates over time, so that's not really a resource, so just trading keystrokes for the HP.
I think the main difference what constitutes a resource and what's not in that sense is that if you don't do anything, will you slowly run out of it, or will you stay at the same place, or will you
And can you reset the clock? Like with HP, you can cast a heal spell, reset the clock. With food, you can reset the clock by eating, but there's only so much food in the dungeon, or so many monsters in the dungeon to give food, so that becomes the sort of hard clock.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, this is an interesting.
Okay, now we go to the middle value factors. First one here is discover mechanics. You must research or find out the nature and usage of the items in the world. We added here that it's not only the items, but actually also the world itself should be discovered.
I think the discussion was that this is not true and we should replace it.
Yes, I think so. I think that the question of whether the monsters and the items in the world is known or not is just a question of have it in detail when you or not. So I don't think this is essential to roguelike.
We should replace it with exploration.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Discovering what the map looks
Exploration
like
is crucial. Yes.
and discovering that red potions are here, which changes in the next game. Like the game-specific exploration as opposed to the things that be written in a rulebook.
Yes, exactly.
The other point is also even more vaguely defined or more confusingly defined than a single command set is single player. Because normally single player means that you're one person playing the game by yourself. But here I believe here the intention was if you have one character that you control, so it's one player character, and that the other characters, they're other enemies or allies, but you don't directly control them. They're kind of like the pets that they might work for you, but you can't actually tell them exactly where to go to and when to attack and what to attack and what to do.
Yeah, even if you could, in like a guild, control every character, that's just one roguelike, and if it doesn't fit this,
it's just less
roguelike.
Anybody knows head over heels?
Yeah.
And I mean, so you could imagine games where you have several.
Lost Weekend.
Last week there's
Fury of the Furies.
but of course it's a standard. So
Okay. So that's about as far as we got to yesterday. I think we stopped at this point. The next point is...
But we made up another point yesterday. You mentioned it on the limitedness of resources.
resource management.
Yes.
Jeff said it again.
Oh,
Just a second, I just want to stop the tape and make sure we're getting good sound from this.
Alright.
At this distance.